Quack quack. Service call. Since Peter did something about doing good things for the customer, free stuff, visual inspections, that kind of stuff, I figured I would show you something that I'm working on. Someone is going on a trip. It's a friend of mine. We looked at the water pump a few weeks ago, and it is definitely leaking, and that's something we're going to take care of today. It is a 2005 Toyota 4Runner with the 1GR. These engines are really, really, really damn near bulletproof. About 6 years ago, I actually did the head gaskets on these things. It was leaking coolant into the combustion chamber and it's coming out the radiator. But here we are 7 years later, and a commonly known failed part on these cars is the water pump. You can't really see it right there. Alright, so using the visual inspection camera, we can actually see the pink crusties around the water pump. The good thing about the Toyota coolant is that when it hits air, it turns into this pink crusty stuff. Where'd you go? Here we are. And that's a telltale sign the water pump is leaking. So the really good thing about Toyota, if you're using the factory coolant, it's really easy to find a coolant leak on these cars. When the coolant meets air, it turns into a crusty pink substance, and it's really, really easy to find. So it's very helpful. So the water pump is way down there. It's going to be behind that clutch fan. So we're going to start getting some of this stuff out the way so we can actually see what we're working with. The manual says that I got to pull the alternator off. I don't remember. It's been a very long time since I've done one of these. But just in case if we do, I'm going to undo that battery because I don't want no sparky. Alright, because since I don't want to be a slob and get coolant everywhere, I got to get down this heavy belly pan down. They're not too bad, the older ones. The newer Tacomas and 4Runners can be a pain. Alright, now with that belly pan out the way, if the inspection camera wasn't obvious, here's definitely the obvious. Like I said, with the Toyota coolant, it makes finding leaks very, very easy when it turns pink. This one's been leaking for a while, so good thing we're going to take care of it before she goes on that trip. Alright, so we have the coolant draining from the cockpit. Number one rule about these drain plugs for the radiator: when your coolant is done draining, you be sure to retighten that cockpit. If not, you're going to be sitting in coolant when you start adding a new one. Also, to speed it up some, put your cap off. Now we allow air to work its magic with some gravity, and we'll just wait for this to get done. Alright, so here's a helpful tip. We're about to get ready to take off the serpentine belt, but before I do that, so if I don't have access to service information, what I can do is just write my own diagram. That way I'm not having to fiddle and play with this thing to get it back on there. Alright, rule of thumb, there's always more coolant. Always. So that's just the thermostat housing. That has to come out the way first. And then once you let it all drain out, we'll move this out the way. We'll see all these are still attached to it. Then we'll be able to get to the water pump. Manual says I got to pull off some of these pulleys. It says alternator, AC compressor. We will see how true that is. If I can get around it, then I will. And if not, then we're taking them off. So I'm going to take these two hoses off here so I can move this out the way. There's an O-ring in the back that I might have to replace. But quick tip, if you haven't tried these out yet, and use this method to help get your hoses off. That's a game changer, bro. Alright, so now with that housing out the way, now we can see our prize. Getting closer, but let's see. So that is the crusty stuff that you're going to see before you actually start seeing the fluid part. So especially on Toyotas. Alright, anytime you're in here, it's always good to give the pulleys a spin, make sure they're not locked up. Now, that other pulley sounds bad. It should be replaced. And tensioner was not too bad. That other pulley should be replaced. And stop. That was not too bad. I'll spin the clutch, compressor, and then our alternator. Where you at, boy? And our alternator. It's good to go. Now, I said that we should replace them. They don't want to replace them, so we'll just keep pushing forward. Alright guys, so we had to get the alternator out the way, and then we had to get the AC compressor out the way. Now I didn't evac and recharge it. All I did was unbolt her and move it from the side. The reason for that is because in order to get the tensioner out of the way, we have to remove the AC compressor. Also, we got the power steering pump out the way. Free it up some. It's definitely leaking, but this is what we're after. So now we get to take these bolts out and make a big mess. Alright, so the water pump is off now. We got the old gasket off. A little trick that you can do is when there's different size bolts and they're all laid out across, either you can put them all in the new water pump, or what I did was I just used one tray for the lower half and then one tray for the upper half. That way you don't get them confused, and if you do, you'll be able to figure it out, but this is a little bit quicker for me. Alright, so the next step is to let all this coolant drain out, and we need to make sure that we clean and prep the surface for the new water pump gasket and get it all cleaned up. There is an O-ring around that tube that has to get replaced, and there's a few more gaskets on the other side that we'll take care of too. Alright, so we got the bolts all nice and clean, and now we also have our sealing surface nice and clean. Anytime you're trying to seal something up, whether it be an oil pan, water pump, anything that has the potential of leaking, it's all in the prep work. Spend time to make it right so you don't have to do it again. Alright, now it's time to put the new water pump in. We got the Asian brand, however you say it. They make all the timing components and stuff for the Toyota, so it's pretty much OEM equivalent. We got the thermostat housing gasket and the little gasket that goes around there. So everything's cleaned up, ready to go, and let's get this thing back together. Alright, now, so I don't torque everything. I don't torque every single thing, but I torque the stuff that matters. First of all, I'm looking to see if there's some kind of pattern I need to follow when I'm tightening this up. I don't see one there, but I am going to torque these bolts to spec. I'm also going to torque the pulleys to spec. Like I said, I don't torque everything, but I torque the things that matter. Alright, we got the new O-ring installed there. The new water pump is installed and torqued to spec. I'm going to leave the O-ring off there until I get ready to actually bolt that housing up. But she is ready to get thrown back together. Alright, she's all back together. Everything's in its place. Shows there. We're going to use the bleeder bucket. Essentially what it is we raise the level of the coolant to the highest point, which allows the air to escape. So we'll let this bleed. Whenever she's done bleeding and have good heat, then I'll top off the coolant reservoir and we should be good to go. Good morning. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, I was not able to shoot any wrap-up footage after doing the water pump. At the very end, you will see me showing the thermostat starting to open up, but I really had to get up out of there because the customer has stuff to do. One or a few key points that I want to touch on. The quality of parts. If at all possible, always try to go back with as close to OEM as possible. Nowadays, you never know what you're going to get, especially when you're buying off sites like Amazon or eBay, any of those things. When it comes to parts, majority of the time, you get what you pay for. Um, Buy once, cry once. And if the offer seems too good to be true, it probably is. You're not going to get 8 coil packs from Denso for $150. It's just not going to happen, guys. So do your research and be smart. They are faking really good parts. Two, the prep. Um, I could have ran through that job, had it knocked out, an hour and a half, 2 hours. It took longer to bleed the cooling system than it did to do the repair. The 1GR is notorious for that. If you have issues on the older style Toyotas, especially the Tundras, the 5.7, trying to bleed those can be a real pain unless you have an airlift. The one that I have, I don't like, and I didn't have air at the location to do that anyway. There is a trick where you rev the engine up, redline it, and shut the car off, and you'll start to see the air start to purge through your bleeder bucket. Um, this is on the older style stuff. Nowadays, we have the reservoir and cap all in one where it has like a self-bleeding or venting system. So, another trick. Take pride in your work, especially where you work at. If you're working at someone's garage like I was, um, there's going to get coolant on the floor. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But when I was done, I was down on my hands and knees with brake cleaner and towels and cleaning the mess up. I don't know if it's true or not, but they say coolant can eat concrete. You know, we'll throw that in there with if you put a battery on concrete, it'll kill it. I don't know. But I clean up my mess. Ultimately, if I was doing a repair on my own vehicle, let's say for a do-it-yourselfer, I would have gone ahead and done the serpentine belt, and at the very least, those two idler pulleys that were making noise. Um, Unfortunately, it is what it is. I did what I was asked to do, made the customer aware of what I found, and that's all I can do. Um, and that's it, guys. Um, Take your time. Service information is key unless you've been doing it, for a good time. Um, but I hope you enjoyed it. Side note, the thermal imaging at the end is captured with the TC004. Now, I have the TC003, which is the touchscreen thermal imager. It's awesome. I love it. But the TC004, I really liked it. It's small, it's compact, comparably. Um, the battery lasts forever. And you're recording, if you pull the trigger once, it will take the picture and you can save it. It comes with an SD card. It's awesome. Um, when recording a video, if you hold down the trigger and then let go of it, it starts to record, which I think is an awesome feature. I'm not having to sit there and poke my clean touchscreen on the TC003. I really, really enjoyed that feature. And it came out great.